And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest and greatest installment of Go Folk Yourself podcast, an American podcast brought to you from the four corners of the United States of America, as long as those four corners are only Florida and Washington. We're streaming to you live from the power of Zoom for this, our Halloween special.
Brett, why are you not letting me on the microphone?
Oh, Bella, it's really kind of inappropriate right now. I mean, we kind of killed that bit about a year ago. I do not care. I am back for the spirit of Halloween. You all thought you left me behind, did you not? Yes, the boys and ghouls of the internet. The boys are bringing you something very spooky tonight. It's something very close to Bella's heart that does not beat. Okay, well, you calm down there, Bella. We haven't even gotten to the introduction part yet. I'm going to go ahead and put him back out of the recording. We'll bring him back in a little bit later, okay? How's everybody doing tonight? Who all do we have on the microphone?
Well, we've got Dan over here in Washington checking in.
Dan in Washington. Who
Should I go next?
Yeah, please use the raise your hand function. Is there a raise your hand function in Zoom?
Oh, should we raise our hands?
I think we just see each other.
You know, Ethan, you go ahead and go first.
Okay, guys, big surprise. Ethan is also here. I'm from the Florida corner, the second Florida corner, if we're doing four corners.
Yeah, I was first Washington corner, Ethan's second Florida corner.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought we were crisscrossing there. Hi, Victor here from the Washington corner.
Very good. All four corners right there. Florida and Washington.
Bringing you coverage coast to coast. That's the Go
Coast
Folk
to
Yourself
coast,
way.
Coast to ghost. That's what we do here at Go Folk Yourself.
Ghost to ghost and coast to coast. Is that what you just said?
That's right. I certainly
That's
did.
spectacular.
It only took me 4 years to come up with that one, folks.
Wow. Just in time.
Well, what's interesting too is we're actually covering something that involves one of the other corners that we are not representing.
Florida.
So, no, not Florida.
Got it. Washington.
No.
No, it's we're talking New York, today.
Mexico.
New York.
That's
Well,
North
Dan,
America.
haven't we done
I'll give
that
you
one?
that. So let's get a little bit more specific. We are actually going to be talking about something specifically spooky for Halloween. This is something that Ethan and I had discussed a bit ago that we wanted to cover because we came across a fascinating story that I just felt was good for disseminating. And based on the very little information that the Go Folk Yourself team had from Ethan and I, who like to set up for our episodes with a bit of suspense, they decided to give us the Halloween episode. So whether that was a mistake or a boon for us, we will find out eventually.
Yeah, we'll see.
But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about a little bit of mythology in New York City. So let's
New
start
York City,
there.
where they make paste picante sauce.
I was going to make that damn joke. Son of a bitch. Yes, where they make paste picante sauce.
That's
The
right.
most famous
That's what
and authentic
cowboys
of
eat.
salsas.
Yep.
New York City, a city so nice they named it New York City.
It's a
Another
phrase.
good one you could have done. No, but hey, who here has been to New York City?
I have. I raised my
I
hand,
have.
but the audio listeners can't see it.
Everybody, I want you to know, everybody raised their hand, including me, who asked the
we all-
question.
Yep. We all raised our hand. Nothing like visual cues in the podcast
You know
format.
what, let's just take
Theater
a
of the
moment
mind.
before we even
Yeah.
dive into it, because clearly I think this is worth stating. Is everybody okay? 2020 has really taken us all down here. I feel like Zoom meetings have become a little too normal for us, huh?
They
I
have.
do only Zoom meetings, so I'm really enjoying it. I think it's fun.
Oh, good.
It's great. I'm glad you don't miss human interaction.
I've never found it necessary. This is like the greatest holiday that's ever happened. I don't have to look anyone in the eye, and I don't have to show my face when I go in buildings.
Wow.
Man,
That's true.
I feel like
pants.
Yeah, I feel like a flirty anime girl everywhere I go. I've got my bottom half of my face covered. I'm typically wearing sunglasses, and I have a great time. Is not everyone having a good time?
No, not everyone's having a
No.
Who here is actually wearing pants right now?
I mean, do you count sweats? I do. But that's what I wear every day. It's like my uniform.
Yeah, I count. I'll count
Sweatpants.
sweats.
sweats. My sweats. No, I'm not in pants.
Good
Is that okay? Are you in pants?
I am, but it's cold out here in our fourth
It
corner.
is cold.
Right. Brett?
It was
you in
30
pants?
degrees this morning.
Full on pants every single day.
So I'm the only
Like
one
jeans?
not in pants.
Jeans. I wear jeans to work on my Zoom calls because I'm uncomfortable with exposed legs while working.
That's stupid. You're dumb.
He doesn't want to
You're
become
very
a
dumb.
GIF. I get that, Brett.
Thank
Especially
you.
right now in this client, like all everyone's looking on YouTube is people going to the bathroom during a work meeting
That's true.
or Zoom accidents. Like it's just
Zoom fails are a thing.
That happened to my wife at a not her, but
oh,
someone she was in the
I'm
meeting
sorry.
with. No, there was a person she was in a Zoom meeting with. It was like 50 people in one of them. Their little box. It was like, wow, that's a lot of tile. Oh, there's a mirror. Oh no. And no one addressed it. They all just moved on, but she saw it and she saw other people see it. And they were like,
Someone recently thought his camera was off and started jerking off during the meeting.
A
literally-
CNN journalist, yeah.
Yeah, and he said he was hacked. That the Russian bot made an animation of that.
Yeah.
That was his excuse. He was
Isn't
a
that the
journalist.
most-
I didn't know that. That's
He was a
funny.
journalist. I can't remember his name, but yeah, I heard about
Could
that
be
today.
worse. So I'm not that guy. So if that's the bottom, I'm a little above that.
yeah.
I have absolutely walked past my wife's computer while she was in a work meeting on camera without pants on, but I did not know
yeah.
she was on a meeting on a
Like,
camera. So that was
What
on me.
level of no pants? Like Porky Pig?
Underwear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Porgy, just Porgy picking around the house.
Straight
I
up.
was,
shirt
as my wife
cocking.
said, I was not hanging full brain. So it's very, very important.
Yeah.
Well, that was your 2020 check-in,
good.
everybody. We just wanted to make sure everybody listening at home knew that you are not suffering alone. Although with that note, I guess it's important to say this will probably be the last episode you hear from us for at least a little while, because we are going to be taking a break and restructuring until the new year. So y'all fuckers are on your own surviving 2020.
Like the great North
it's every man
American
for
grizzly,
himself.
we go into hibernation. And
That's
we
right.
arrive when
Halloween
first woodchuck
episode
of spring
marks.
comes.
I'm so excited that this episode marks the ending of this season, the apology year, as I've been calling it, because we let you down during the beginning of this pandemic, and then we rallied the troops. We got back together. We put together the best we've got. Now creative juices are flowing, and so I'm glad that we're ending this year on this high note, because I think this is going to be one of the best episodes we've ever done.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot. We once did a
quite that
Predator
is-
spoof that was
We did.
way too long.
We did
Yeah.
once do a very
That is-
long Predator spoof, and it's
That's-
top notch.
I
on
am
my
so
resume.
proud of that. It should be.
It's so good.
I'm so
The
proud
Christmas
of that.
episodes are absolutely in my creative CV, so that is
Yes.
that is absolutely there. So New York City, guys. When we talk about New York City, obviously some imagery comes to mind, right? You think of New York City, you think of these massive skyscrapers. You think of American royalty, like the Rockefellers or the Bloombergs, or that's it. No other families like that. None.
No one else. End of list.
End of list. No one else of note.
You think of Sbarro's Pizza.
Bella, get out of
New York
here.
pizza.
Bella, man. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Bella, you gotta get away from the mic, man.
Bella,
I
stop
have
it.
no idea how to use a microphone.
Yeah,
You're
we
doing
I have
know.
been dead since the 80s.
You're
You're
They had
using it right
microphones
now.
in the 80s, Bella. What is that excuse? But also, Sbarro's is great. Thank you for that contribution.
Yeah. This episode brought to you by
Sbarro's in Times Square. It's the best pizza in New York. I'm going to say it right here. Throwing down
Yeah.
that gauntlet. Sbarro's
Something
in
in
Times
the
Square.
water.
Yep.
Nothing
Very good.
nothing beats a Sbarro slice. That's the slogan. Well, let me give you something that I don't think you guys have ever thought about with New York. If I say vampire in New York, what comes to mind?
Tom Cruise.
Was he in New
That's
York?
right.
No, that's just what I think.
Got it. Okay.
Eddie Murphy's cult classic Vampire in Brooklyn, which is what I
Okay.
hope this episode's about.
It is not, but I really feel like we missed a mark by not discussing
We
that.
did. That's a good one.
That's a very good one. Go ahead and write that down for a future episode.
Boom.
Oh, don't worry, I got you covered. I prepped fun facts about this because Ethan told me it was that. I guess it was a joke. Ethan, thanks.
It's okay. I got him
I
again,
haven't-
folks.
We'll let you do some fun facts at the end, Victor. We'll let you tell people about
Nah, get the
Vampire in
peppermint.
Brooklyn.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
So
Pop
if,
them in here there.
if I were to tell you guys that not only is there a vampire in New York City, but rather it has been that this vampire has been in New York City since the 1970s, and people are well aware of its existence,
Yeah.
what would you say?
I mean, I'm not surprised. New York's a big place. I mean, why wouldn't there be a vampire
Are you
there?
saying there's
No,
a
no, no,
vampire
no.
coven, like an official vampire coven there?
So it's interesting that you bring that up. There is not a vampire coven. However, the specific vampire we're going to be talking about does belong to a community of what you would describe as monsters.
Really?
And again, it is, and I'm not kidding. And I Brett, your face, I wish everyone could see right now, is
Yeah,
the reaction I was
buying it.
honestly hoping for, which is that me telling you that not only is there a vampire, but that people know there is a vampire.
Yeah.
That should be the game changer, right? That should be the piece of news or evidence that made something from your childhood a reality. That why wouldn't you have heard this before?
I went to New York when I was 10 years old. And I feel like that I would have heard about this almost 22 years ago.
Sure.
Brett, what if I were to tell you that I guarantee you did hear about it?
Is Hamilton a vampire? Is that what
Lay
you're
it
telling
on
me?
I'm
No. There is a vampire in New York City that every single one of you knows about. And yet none of us have used that as the evidence to prove that vampires are real.
I am so curious to know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So I guess in order to explain how this works, we need to talk about a very specific place in New York City. More importantly, we need to talk about a very specific street. How familiar are you with Sesame Street?
God damn it.
You've been setting up all week a Sesame Street joke.
Let me.
Fred, when you went there when you were 10, that's what killed me. I was like, yeah.
I can tell.
I still have my fun facts, but I'm so happy that your troll beat my troll that was going to happen to you. I assumed you had a serious vampire to talk about.
So, go ahead, Ethan.
Dan texted me about this. I swear to God, it seems like a month ago. At this
Oh, it was like
point.
2 months ago. 2 months ago, I had this idea.
You've been teasing this in the group chat for like
A long
since
time.
August, and this is what it was.
The best part about all of this is now I actually have a witness to my madness. Ethan has been on a side text with me about this, where I've literally said, "Hey, I'm gonna tease this to the group right now. Watch, and we'll at least get one person to bite." Like, and then send a message.
It was so funny.
I
I'm
was
just
thinking
going-
we were gonna get like a serial killer that like does something cool, or like legit vampire story, and it's
Count-
the
the count's
fucking
pretty
Count
cool.
from Sesame Street.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop right there. We're talking about Count Von Count here. First,
Yeah.
you address him by his full goddamn name.
His
He is a
name,
man.
his full name is actually Count Von Count.
Count
Yes.
Von Count, the man so in love with enumeration that they named him after the process. So let's just show a little bit of respect. Count Von Count, I think, is actually the perfect close for this season of Go Folk Yourself, because follow me on this.
Okay.
What was happening in America in the 70s that Jim Henson, who was creating puppets for a children's TV show stopped and said, let's make a Bella Lugosi puppet that loves fucking numbers. What do you guys think about that?
They're like,
I don't
Jim,
know. What was
I don't
going
know.
Well, that's what's so beautiful about Sesame Street is of all of the characters in that show, because that show is populated with monsters. That is what they call themselves, is monsters. Elmo is
Yeah.
a monster. Cookie Monster, obviously a monster.
Oh, I got the other
All
monster.
of them
Yeah.
are monsters.
Right.
But for some reason, Count Von Count is not a monster. He is just a vampire. He is an adult vampire from Transylvania who moved from the Carpathian Mountains to New York City, where he has a gothic manor that is
Yeah.
covered in stained glass shaped like bats. And yet all of these 3.5-year-old puppets are cool to have slumber parties at his house, and no one questions a fucking thing.
That's so true. Gosh, it's incredible.
Yeah, I guess
The
it's
Count will
really
just
the only like well, I mean, they're all anthropomorphized, but he is certainly like a human character.
He's got a goatee.
Yeah. He's like the only one, because you've got monsters, you got
Well,
Big
yeah.
Bird, who's a bird.
Bert and Ernie are people-ish.
Right. But the Count is the only one that's like, this motherfucker is a vampire. Like, imagine if the Wolfman showed up and they're like, hey, this guy's a werewolf. Let's go sleep at his house.
It's a full moon tonight. That's good. He's having a party.
Yeah. One
Maybe
full
like no-go.
moon. Yeah.
I'm seriously though, I think more importantly, I'm so glad that as we started this Zoom call, you guys are just like, yeah, well, we're going to make this the Halloween episode. We're going to make this the close of the season. And all that went through my head was these motherfuckers have no idea that this is just a troll about Sesame Street.
It's just one big joke about the Count.
I mean, that would be our show.
I know. That's why this is perfect. Well, let's talk about Sesame Street, though. Let's do it some due diligence, just because if we're going to make this the final episode, we should at least have a discussion. So, again, as stated, most of the characters in Sesame Street are monsters.
Yeah.
Right? You've got vampires. You've got monsters.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about Sesame Street, or what do you think that adds to it? Ethan, I have obviously been watching a lot of Sesame Street recently, and so have you.
Oh, yeah, man.
So what do you think was the purpose behind this wholesome street that is supposed to teach kids about love, togetherness, and all these like basic skills? Why is it filled with monsters?
I have no idea. That's a really good question. It seems odd to me that they would choose, because they could have just called them Muppets. It just could have been a street full of Muppets. It's from the Jim Henson Muppet Company. Why are they monsters? And why are some actually birds?
Sesame Street is not technically from Jim Henson. He did not create Sesame Street.
Really?
He was hired on to Sesame Street to be the showrunner. So he did not invent the idea of Sesame Street. He just became the creative visionary behind it.
Right.
So that's why when he did branch off and start doing the Muppets, Sesame Street and the Muppets used to have a lot more interplay. In fact, Big Bird is seen in the first Muppet movie. He is walking across the country.
And don't forget, every Christmas, the Jim Henson Christmas special.
Yep.
Where they go to Fozzie Bear's mom's house for Christmas.
Yep.
They have all the people from Sesame Street show up, and Kermit and his nephew Robin go into the basement of Fozzie's mom's house and discover a portal. This is all true.
This is all canon.
This is all canon. They discover a portal that leads them to the Fraggles of Fraggle Rock.
Really?
Yeah, and Sprocket and the old dude are guests at Fozzie's mom's house, because Fozzie's mom was going to go to Hawaii or California for Christmas. And then Fozzie, I'm talking way too much about this.
No. Fozzie, tell me more.
Dive right in.
So Fozzie surprises her with a visit from him and Kermit and everybody from Sesame Street. And so she has to put off her vacation to stay there at the house. And it's all the Muppets, all the people from Sesame Street who weren't invited. They just show up at the end of the special.
Yeah, they come caroling.
Yes, out in the middle of nowhere in like Vermont or something. And
I bet that's nice, though. Being
It
in
is
Vermont
nice.
for Christmas with all the puppets.
And one of the funniest jokes is when Bert and Ernie are talking to the dude from Fraggle Rock, the guy, the human, whatever his
Yeah.
name is.
Gargamel.
Gargamel.
They're speaking to him, and he's like, "Well, it's very nice to meet you." And they go, "You? That starts with a Y." And he goes, "Yeah, that's true." And they go, "True. That starts with a T." And he's like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "This is small talk."
It's a pretty funny joke, actually.
It is funny, right? So with Sesame Street, it seems really, really weird that the Count exists as a person because it's
Speaking
just a joke.
Yeah, speaking of Bert and Ernie, do you guys know where the Count first debuted on Sesame Street?
No.
I think I only know the year.
He's 72 and 73. He pops up and he is on a bit with Bert and Ernie where Ernie leaves Bert with his blocks set up at a pyramid and the Count knocks him over and has to count them and Bert gets upset. So that's why he got his counting like gimmick in that skit. But
Do
the
you think
guy,
that's
the character who created him was I just lost it now. Anyways, he created him as just for that bit, but then he used to greet the live audience and be like, "I'm the Count because I count," and went full on vampire mode in this and was way more villainous apparently in the beginning of the whole thing. And so literally took a side character from a bit and just gave him his own shtick and just wrote him into more of the show.
boom?
But he was
We've got-
he was straight up. Yeah, he was just straight up like a vampire that greeted and just made this minor character into like what he is today.
Well,
But
so
he was
that's
full
actually
vampire in the beginning.
that's
He
interesting
hypnotized
because
people.
it's the same kind of background for Elmo, which
What?
Elmo being probably the most synonymous Muppet on Sesame Street, right? Like he is at this point, besides Big Bird, maybe he is the one that you see and think
Even-
Sesame Street.
And even with Big Bird, it's like depending on your audience. Some
Yeah,
know
it depends
Elmo
on the
better.
age. Yep.
Yeah.
Elmo has for the most part been the mascot of Sesame Street for upwards of almost 2 decades now.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the first appearance of Elmo. I encourage everyone listening to look up the song "We Are Monsters" on YouTube. Just type in "We Are Monsters" on Sesame Street. And it is a song of all these different monster puppets. And this was the first appearance of Elmo. And you know what? For a quick, Brett, you haven't had much to say here. Could you give me your best Elmo impersonation from what you remember?
I honestly could not tell you what Elmo even sounds like.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I never watched this show as a child. I have zero recollection of ever
Holy
sitting down and
shit.
watching a single episode.
Someone go ahead and kick Brett from this chat.
Yeah.
Ethan,
Yeah, you guys just take it. Yeah, have a good one.
Ethan, can you give me your best Elmo impression?
I'll do it. It's Elmo speaks with a Brooklyn accent, and he refers to himself in the third person. And Elmo has a lot of opinions. That's my Elmo.
That's a
Was
good
that
Elmo.
okay?
For
Hold on.
all three of you who seem to know a surprising amount about Sesame Street, why do you know so much about Sesame Street?
We all have.
Is that a
have
thing that
children.
happens when
We
you
all have
have children?
kids.
And,
Yes.
children. And your brain, all the precious memories and things you love
Yeah.
drop out for lore about PJ Masks and Word Party and Sesame Street. So I don't know
What is
Anything
PJ
ab-
Mask?
PJ Masks, Brett, is
Oh,
a
you've done it.
children's superhero cartoon where they go to school during the day, but at night they get superpowers and fight crime. Because that's who needs to be fighting crime is toddlers.
Well, I mean, considering there was the idea of giving 3-year-olds guns at school to protect themselves, you know.
PJ Masks,
It is-
isn't that crazy?
I will say it's great because it is in a 1966 Batman Adam West style. So it has like the corny like logo spin, and then they get in costume and all that stuff. So it's perfect and pretty wholesome.
Here,
But
I'll make this make sense to you, Brett. Brett, did you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a kid?
I did not.
What was your show as a kid? What did you watch cartoon?
I don't know why that's so funny.
I watched Ken Burns' Civil War.
That's what I was expecting.
I lived
Brett's like,
in such a rural area. I did not really have television as a child.
What?
Oh, okay.
We didn't have cable. Like, we had like antenna.
That's all the
For
more
most
reason you
part,
should have been
I was
watching
banned from
Sesame Street. Sesame Street was on
Public
networks.
television. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was banned from watching TV. So,
Huh.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Holy
That was
shit.
That's a big puzzle piece that explains Brett that I was unaware of. That just made sense of a lot of things.
That kind of,
That's-
that explains.
Yeah.
This episode is going all.
You know what? To each
Tell
their
you a
own. I
little
guess.
bit more about my TV watching habits as a child. It was only at my grandmother's house, who lived in town and had cable. And she would put up with none of the nonsense of current children's shows and would only let me watch Looney Tunes.
Okay. Hold on though. So there, we've got Looney Tunes.
This-
That's something. How much do you think she was able to converse with you about Looney Tunes because she knew you enjoyed it?
Probably a fair amount, because she also liked it. And I feel
Oh,
like
okay, a
it was
little
just her
different.
watching
Aw.
something that she liked too.
But that
Yeah.
was also her giving you an exposure to something she liked. Whereas, so like for me, I did watch Sesame Street as a child. The Count was actually my favorite Muppet. Like
Aw.
he was my favorite character according to my parents. Apparently, I used to run around as a kid going all the time.
Oh, it's
So so to me, introducing Ben to Sesame Street and then by proxy the Muppets has been one of my favorite things. To
Yeah.
the degree, and Ethan knows this, I literally bought a Muppet so that
Yes.
I could during like diaper changes and things like that do like a little
Yeah.
puppet show with Ben. So yeah, like this is there is a level of it that is like once your kid gets into something, like I always think of my parents knew way too much about the Ninja Turtles as the example.
Yeah.
They didn't give a shit about Ninja Turtles. This wasn't
Nope.
in their sphere. They didn't want to know about it. But fuck, if I said well, maybe not now, it's been enough time. But when I was younger, if I had asked them who leads the Ninja Turtles, I guarantee you my dad would disparagingly be like, ugh, Leonardo. I know Leonardo leads the Turtles, okay? Well,
He's
it's
the
The
fine.
blue one.
Blue
right?
one.
He
Yeah.
is the blue one.
I learned that secondhand in high school.
God, that's so weird. So weird.
This is so goddamn weird.
I don't know why that makes you
I
a
feel like-
pariah in society, but it does.
I feel like you finally cracked into the elemental weirdness that is Brett in this
This-
specific episode.
Yeah,
Yeah. This is actually quite a finale.
Brett, I
Yeah,
just share
this
with
is-
you. My grandparents did the same thing. We're like, you can't watch The Simpsons. That's garbage. That rots your brain. Watch History Channel. And we shared this last episode, I think. And they
Yeah.
literally just watched me. I just watched World War II documentaries and battle plans for 24 hours. I'm like, this is literally like carnage and stuff about Vietnam, and I'm 10. Like
Yeah,
this is
but it's
better than
history.
yeah.
But you're learning.
But I'm
something.
literally watching war footage, Dan, for like 24 hours, black and white war footage.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
10-year-old.
Look, try having family in Maryland where the only like choice of things to do for the day are, well, do we want to go to Hershey Park, which would be fun but expensive, or who wants to tour some Civil War battlegrounds? Right? Like,
Awesome.
that's-
I mean, you get outside. Still.
Sure, no, and
That's
don't get me
I
wrong,
imagine
I
young
was-
Dan looking at the theme park in the Vista. Just-
No, in fact,
Do
you would
that,
be
but we could
mistaken.
go. There's a roller coaster, probably.
That was my cousins. My cousins hated me when I visited because I was the person who was like, "No, I want to go to a museum. I want
Check
to
it out."
learn. Let's go."
Yeah. And
So-
they're like, God damn.
God damn it!
Yep.
Every
Yep.
time.
Every time. But the long point that led to this weird moment, based on Ethan's impression of Elmo, if you
Yeah.
watch the We Are Monsters video on YouTube, the original voice of Elmo is like, "I'm a monster and I'm
Yeah.
red," right? Like it's this deep, like guttural thing.
What the fuck is that?
So like, but eventually one puppeteer whose name I forgot, and he may potentially be a pedophile. There's a whole thing about, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, thank God that was cleared up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
what?
was. Oh, was that cleared up?
It was like a year ago, I think.
Because I only
yeah,
got
it was
the
all
first part of
cleared
the
up.
story, and I didn't want to dive any deeper. The what was his name? Clash?
I can't
Something
remember.
Clash. Anyway,
I don't know.
he
Elmo-
was
Elmo's
accused
dude.
of the original Elmo of the popular Elmo voice. He created Elmo into what he was. He was accused of being a pedophile. I'm glad to hear that was cleared up.
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless, this man saw the puppet, picked it up, and came up with a voice and personality that people were just like, nope, put him on TV. Like, this needs to be a character. So it seems like the Count had a similar experience where it was, hey, this is a funny character we made. We think you'll enjoy it. Oh, you really enjoyed it.
Oh,
okay,
shit.
we can write some stuff.
Yeah. He'll just cover our math shit.
Yeah.
There we go.
We'll just make him the mathematician puppet. That works. Vampires like counting things, so that's good.
I mean,
right?
to be fair, Brett, that is one thing you know about vampires in D&D. You have a D&D story involving counting and vampires.
Wow.
Yes, in which I threw a bag of rice at the vampire, assuming that it would have to stop and pick up every grain of rice, and then it strangled me to death. Because it does not have to do that. Fun fact.
Did you get
D&D
that
players.
knowledge from Sesame Street, though?
No, just
No.
random folklore shit that I've come across because I'm a fucking
No, but
weirdo pariah
I
that
wonder
doesn't watch television
if
as a
you
child.
did actually, like, if somewhere on the internet someone made that joke because of Sesame Street and you picked it up without any awareness that it was a Sesame Street joke because of your lack of television.
It's possible. It is certainly possible.
Vampires love counting? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
I must have
Yeah,
completely
that's the
forgotten.
thing.
Wow.
That's not a thing I've ever heard beyond in Sesame Street.
Really? Yeah, I spent a lot of time on GeoCities when the internet came out. Pretty much all of it occult and paranormal related. Maybe that begins to peel back the layers of Brett for you
No,
guys.
that
helps.
part I knew.
Yeah. We kind of
I assumed you had like 2 or 3 live journals.
I never had one myself, but I followed a lot of them.
Our resident historian Dan Kay has an old live journal you can look up. I'll share a link with everybody.
Oh,
here.
God.
I will not do so publicly, but it is very fun to go through. It is currently black text on a black backdrop. It's very edgy.
That's very Dan K.
You have to
The highlight is
highlight,
to
copy, and
read it.
paste to read what he wrote.
Wow. You got to put
Wow,
work on
that's
that.
like a
Wow.
manifesto level.
That
I'm
is
just saying.
that's like a lazy Zodiac. There's no.
Tell me
there's
more
no,
about this Count character.
Yeah.
What? So he likes counting things. Obviously, does he drink human blood?
He has a girlfriend.
Does
He has
he?
a
I've not come
girlfriend?
across a
Good for him.
girlfriend.
Yeah,
for him.
he's got a. It's in some episodes. He'll be at a dinner party, and it'll be him, or he'll be at dinner with his lady friend, and he'll start counting. And there's a song he does to the counting.
There's always a song.
Yeah, and then the lady friend will, yell "stop," and then that'll determine the number of the day.
Is she a monster?
She
Or
is.
she
She's just
a
a-
vampire?
she's not a vampire?
also?
I think she's a vampire only because it's just the Count without the goatee and in a dress. That's just what she looks like. It's just
You
the
know
Count.
who also is a female vampire? Angela Bassett, second in the movie of Vampire in Brooklyn, Eddie Murphy. But it's not her first time playing a vampire. She previously
What?
starred in Innocent Blood in 1992. So
Wow.
the 1995 cult classic Vampire in Brooklyn, Angela Bassett, wasn't her first time. So she had experience. And it
Yeah,
shows.
She has a background in vampirism.
A vampire. And she also, in season 5 of some bad TV show, American Horror Story, she's a vampire as well.
She
Sorry.
was.
She was in Coven, wasn't she?
Yeah, I saw that one.
Oh, I love that 2 of our members are like, yes.
Yeah, she was in the
forgot.
best season.
She was. That is the best season.
Coven
Stevie
is?
Nicks is in that one.
Yes.
I've got pretty strong opinions because I think Asylum and Coven are equally good.
I was going to
And
say,
wow.
so I've never watched the show, but I've always heard Asylum is like the one.
Asylum, a lot of people like shoved it to the side after Coven came out, and then there are some people who prefer the Lady Gaga season with vampires, and those people are stupid.
You know who else
So-
got shoved to the side? Eddie Murphy originally wanted to play the role as a serious horror movie, but Wes Craven wanted to take it in a different direction. In air
What does
quotes.
Wes Craven know? Right, guys?
What does the Master of Horror know? Who apparently wanted Eddie Murphy to just do humor?
I'm
Why?
sorry, let's just take that back for 1 second. I don't think he deserves the title of Master of Horror.
Who would?
What?
Would it be the Count?
Really?
Master of Horror at this point to me is Sam Raimi.
Really?
What?
Oh man,
No.
I love that. I love that.
Drag Me to
hot
Hell.
take.
Drag Me to Hell is probably one of the best horror movies that doesn't try to directly scare you. It just puts you into a world that is by itself scary. And I think that to me was the most subversively terrifying thing because the
Yeah.
whole time I'm watching it, I knew I wasn't at risk. I didn't make this mistake. But at the same time, you're watching it going like, Jesus Christ, I just want someone to come out of this okay. Someone
That-
please.
I worked at a movie theater when that movie came out, and that was the weirdest movie to do theater checks to. Because if you just saw it like 3-minute increments randomly, you're like, what the fuck is happening in this?
Sam Raimi,
And,
admittedly, the man, if we're talking about like Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, it's definitely more of like cult horror.
Yeah.
But like, I guess what it is Wes Craven has had more at-bats and more strikeouts to me. Whereas Sam Raimi, who has maybe not stepped up to the plate for horror as often, always hits it out of the park.
That's a really good comparison. Yeah.
I would say just because Wes Craven took Scream, and it wasn't a stupid monster that was like a curse of a witch. It was your neighbor that was murdering you. And that put a
I'm
whole
not
different
saying
spin
Wes
on
Craven.
stuff.
Wes Craven. Look, he gave us. Well, he was
And he
Nightmare
gave
on
us
Elm
Freddy
Street,
Krueger.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yep.
I'm not
He's a
saying
writer,
the man
yeah.
hasn't created great monsters, but what I'm saying is you've watched Nightmare on Elm Street, you watch Friday the 13th, you think these are spectacular. Now go watch the sequels, right? Like the man's
yeah.
legacy gets blemished each time. Like he is just as good at creating things as he is as making them just as toothless and unscary as anything. Like I don't know.
Master is maybe a strong word, but I just kind of jokingly threw that in there. I honestly don't have a strong opinion because I don't watch half these movies.
I have a strong opinion, and I've decided just now that Wes Craven sucks.
There it is.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Hot
Really?
take. I've not seen
Ethan
it.
was watching spooky movies over the summer. That's how you know he's serious about
He
spooky
knows.
movies.
I watched a lot of spooky movies on Hulu's Into the Dark series before they were betrayed by Blumhouse, and they went to Amazon Prime for the horror season this year. Fucking traitors.
Hey, but
Don't
you know
get me
what?
started.
I got to recommend a horror movie to you that you hadn't seen before, and that was one of my proudest moments.
That was a wonderful movie, Cabin in the Woods.
You had never seen that.
I've
Oh,
never
that
seen
one's
that.
great.
That's an amazing
yeah.
meta horror.
I've
movie.
now seen it. It was incredible. 10 out of 10. Or I think I gave it 7
10
out
out of 10 mummies.
Yeah, I did. I gave it a
You made
perfect.
it
10
mummies
mummies.
instead of
That's a lot of
skeletons
mummies.
because the regular ratings were for skeletons. Mummy wasn't technically on the list, so you made it a
That's
mummy.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You know,
Anyway.
I think I back you on the Sam Raimi thing, Dan, because I think that a lot of what he did in film is now very. It's come to be what you
Yeah.
expect
Yeah.
out of kind of a horror
Like the-
film, and it's he did create a lot of tropes on his own with
That's
the
true.
limited amount of movies that he did
He
make.
made Spider-Man.
And
I always think of the
So-
battering ram camera, the camera through the woods where they just literally had it on the end of a stick. And he,
Yeah.
so one of my favorite little Sam Raimi fun facts, Sam Raimi loves to abuse his actors. And I don't mean like Stanley Kubrick, who's, do it again and do it with more gusto this time. He likes to abuse his actors like he likes to physically abuse them. So, for example, in the scene in Evil Dead where Ash is running through the woods to get away from the unseen creature that is just a camera on a stick chasing him, the camera on a stick was on a car for that shot. And basically, Sam Raimi was the one in the driver's seat and was like, I will run you over. You need to sprint at your full speed because I need this shot to be very fast. So run. And there are a few takes where he absolutely did ram into Bruce Campbell with the camera because Fuck it. And even in Spider-Man 2, one of my favorite scenes, the raindrops keep falling on my head scene, where Peter Parker finally gave up on being Spider-Man and he's having a normal life. There's a point where he drops things and he's picking them up off the ground and a briefcase hits him in the side of the head really hard. That was Sam Raimi holding the briefcase because he wanted to make sure to punish his actor on camera a bit more. So
you must suffer for your art,
right.
obviously.
Fun fact, he used to swing cameras at Tobey Maguire's face just to get those reaction shots of him getting punched.
I wouldn't doubt it. If I'm being honest, I would not doubt
I don't know. No, I don't know.
That sounded, you said it with such confidence that I was bought in.
The another good example is the scene in Evil Dead 2 where Ash is fighting his own hand. Sam Raimi just let Bruce Campbell keep going and did not stop him, even though he had already gotten the take, and was basically, no, keep going. Throw yourself into that fridge. Throw yourself into the counter. Like, was just encouraging this man to beat the living hell out of himself on camera. So there's about a 5-minute take of that, and we only get 30 seconds in the movie.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of fun facts today about the Evil Dead franchise on this episode about Sesame Street.
To be fair, again, this episode on Sesame Street was only going to be like a 15-minute discussion.
True.
You guys put the mantle of finale on it. So I felt like we needed to just make it a conversation for everyone at home, just so you get to feel like you're sitting around on a couch with us.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
You know, Dan, I would like to hear your Elmo impression.
So we have a joke in this house that I think will help me get into my Elmo voice. If you're familiar with Elmo's song,
Elmo's World.
Popular. No. Well, yes, Elmo's World is that song, but the original one where Big Bird and Snuffleupagus are listening to Elmo sing his song, and then Big Bird's like, "Oh, I wish I had a song." And at that moment, Elmo says, "Just you can sing this song." And Big Bird says, "Well, how?" And we always make fun of how Elmo delivers the very next line, where my son's even laughing at me as I'm building up to it, where Elmo goes, "Just sing Big Bird," which. So Elmo kind of talks like this. I can't do an Elmo.
That's perfect.
Just say Big Bird.
That thick Brooklyn accent, it kills me.
So it's high pitch, Brooklyn,
but you can't tell because it's so high.
Oh, yeah. No, you know what? We can't let the Sesame Street episode before I ask or talk about a very important monster on Sesame Street. This is more for Madison. We need to talk about Telly real quick.
What is Telly?
Ethan, can you explain Telly real quick?
Yeah, Telly is Baby Bear's friend, right?
I think so.
Yeah, let me make sure I get Telly right, because Mad always just goes nuts for Telly. Hey man, Telly is the 40-year-old friend of Baby Bear.
Oh, Jesus fuck. Telly.
We're just briefly covering.
Telly talks about that. He's in the one of the cult.
Yes, Telly's in a triangle cult with Baby.
Can you go ahead and get closer
Bear.
to Madison so we can hear her explain it? I'm so sorry.
Better at being a cult member, so they want Baby Bear to be in the cult.
Here, do you just want to? Hey, there she is.
Telly can die.
Whoa!
What did you say about Telly?
Telly
Strong
can die.
words.
Well, there
Why
we
can
go.
he die?
Telly can.
So I have never really seen an episode of Sesame Street, Madison. Can you explain to our listeners what this character is? Because I'm personally clueless.
I don't know who
So
Telly is.
Telly looks like a 40-year-old man. He's got like a comb over going on. Oh, I hit something. Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry. And he's in a triangle cult where they worship this triangle. There's a little triangle cult leader Muppet. And then Baby Bear is usually there because he's better at being in the cult. But he's not an active member of the cult, but they want him to be. But Baby Bear's not into it. And it's like 4 different episodes with the same theme.
I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at Telly right now, and he just looks like Big Elmo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fun
Like
fact,
Elmo's creepy uncle.
looking at Telly, you might think like as a 40-year-old Muppet, he's supposed to be a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell you on this pyramid scheme about triangles.
His literal
A fun way to
pyramid scheme
teach
of
you about
pyramids.
shapes, but conversely tells children it's okay to get into these schemes. If you get your friends to buy 3 triangles, you get more triangles.
You know,
It's all about the upstream.
Yeah.
I think this Telly guy might have sold me a bunch of skinny wraps, and they did not work. Okay.
And so there you go. That's Telly for you.
Ellie,
Telly's a very important monster on Sesame Street.
we've been on a
And he
journey
talks
this
like
episode.
this.
This is a really weird episode.
Hi, I'm Telly. I'm 5 years old.
Hey, it's me, Telly. You want to buy a triangle, kid? I'm Elmo's dad.
And then Baby Bear talks like this. Hey, it's me, Baby Bear. I'm a fucking idiot.
You know what made me so sad about Baby Bear is really annoying. And then I watched the holiday special, and Baby Bear is the Jewish representation on Sesame Street. And I was like, no.
He is. Yeah, I saw that episode.
I forgot about that. He is.
Happy
Hanukkah, kids.
From Baby Bear.
Yeah. Baby Bear says Happy Hanukkah.
We're going to get so many tweets that are like, are you guys okay?
No.
After this episode? We're locked in with our children for 6 months. This is what happens.
I'm completely
it's-
fine.
I know, Brett.
Good for you.
Good.
You all sound like raving madmen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brett, one day you're going to have a kid, and I swear to you, I'm going to make it seem like you are crazy for liking the things that your kid likes. I'm going to make it seem like that is the most abnormal thing that you. And here's the thing: you can remember this conversation right now, but I promise
Yeah, I
you, once
will.
parenting brain happens,
Recorded.
you will still somehow forget it.
He'll still be like,
Am
no.
I going to forget all of the details of the Silmarillion?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, no.
I
I'm
struggle-
going to have to read it again.
I struggle with Marvel facts now. I have moments now where I can't remember authors and artists, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
bizarre for me. Like this is what parenting does, because this is the beauty of it. There is something more worthwhile to invest your energy in, and you
Yes.
recognize that immediately.
World War I facts. Got it.
That's it. It's World War One facts.
Hey, speaking of World War One, Bella Lugosi, you were alive for World War One. Can you tell us anything about that?
No, Dan, you can fuck off.
Whoa, Bella.
Wow.
Why are you so
You
obsessed?
banished me from the show, and I had to move into Brett's house in North Florida.
I didn't banish you from the show. We had to shut the studio down due to COVID.
Yeah. Bella.
All being safe.
I'm sorry that you can't catch it because you're already dead, but we can.
Yeah.
I cannot catch it because it is hoax.
God damn it.
Bella,
I didn't want to say it, but this is
Bella,
half the
Bella.
reason. We had a meeting. Can't.
Yeah, look, Bella,
I'll take my problematic opinions elsewhere.
the best thing we can do for you, if you are interested, we can set up the Bella and Bill Power Hour, but I don't want you on GFY anymore. I'm sorry.
Is that where Bill and I drink one shot of beer every minute for 1 hour?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Sign me up.
All right. Well, coming in the new year, the Bella and Bill Power Hour.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That would be. I don't think I've got it in me to do that for.
I don't think I could. I tried to do the power hour in college one time. I didn't make it very far because it's very unpleasant. So I stopped.
Oh, God.
The
I guess that's
best
awful.
I ever did, we didn't do the Power Hour. We did the Gallon Challenge, which was a bigger mistake.
What's the
because-
gallon challenge?
Fun fact, if you get those big bottles of Miller High Life, it's only 4 of those to say that you've drank a gallon of beer. So what me and this group of friends used to do is go to one of them in their apartment complex had a giant projector, like theater room. So we would plug in his PS1 and play the NHL 1994 PlayStation game and just drink Miller High Life and try to get through a gallon.
Wow,
That's
It was very sad.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, well, one of those nights was the night that we launched a couch out into the middle of the woods, so that was pretty cool.
nice.
Yeah, that was college.
Remember
You just-
college?
There's a fondness and also a disdain for those years.
There is.
A deep,
Col-
deep regret.
College was like milk for me. where it was like
Like the movie Milk?
Like a award-winning film about LGBT history.
about Harvey Milk. It was wonderful. And then it ended, and that was it. No, it was like Milk where like it was good at first, but like the longer you're in college, it's like the longer the milk is in your fridge, and you're like, the milk's about to go bad.
A better analogy. I want you guys to picture a small glass of milk right now, like a nice cold small glass of milk. That sounds refreshing. Now I want you to picture like a pint glass filled with milk.
I regularly drink a pint glass filled with milk. And
That's
it's
too much
amazing.
milk.
That's quite a bit of milk.
That's way too much milk.
Can't drink milk anymore.
I would disagree.
I can't drink milk as like I used to, but I do still love me some milk.
I like putting ice in my glass of milk, so it's really
That's
cold.
the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Get out of here.
I know.
That was weirder than my entire childhood.
Yeah, Brett's childhood is normal now compared to your milk habits.
I like
Thank you
it.
for joining
I'm
us on 4 Old Men and Their 3 Sons and Brett.
And
The
Brett,
sequel to 2 Men.
the socially
Old Man
challenged
and 2 Sons.
childless man.
Because this podcast has just evolved into that.
Oh.
I can't drink milk anymore.
Do you remember college? College was awful. I've never seen Sesame Street. What is it? My family was poor and we had no television.
Wait, hold on though, because you are familiar with the Muppets. We have had many Waldorf and Statler joke moments.
That is correct, because my grandmother would rent VHS tapes of
Nice.
the Muppets for me.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I just realized there was a gap there I wanted to clear.
Imagine if you were raised by exclusively the elderly, and maybe that begins to explain the mind of Brett.
I get that.
That does
You probably
help,
watch a lot of
actually.
Felix the Cat.
Yep, a lot of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well,
Well, this is probably the weirdest episode we could have ever
Absolutely.
made our
Was.
Halloween special out of.
This is
again,
perfect.
this
Halloween
was,
got canceled this year, and so did our Halloween episode.
this is I think this is the most on-brand Halloween episode of 2020. We came ill-prepared, and ultimately we pulled it out of our ass. But at the same time, there's still something about it that feels Halloween, because Halloween's alive inside all of us.
It is.
As just like this is our last episode of the season, Eddie Murphy's last Paramount film, believe it or not, was Vampire in Brooklyn. And the reason he did the film is Paramount will release him from his contract and give him the rights to Nutty Professor. So overall, he did a shit movie and let his brother write it so that he could get out of a deal
But then he got to make the Nutty Professor franchise.
Wow.
and own it.
And-
That was the
and
difference.
he owned
Owns it.
Then he got to
Wow.
do the Clumps film.
Yeah.
Oh,
Classic.
You know-
wow.
And
there's a
classics
part
like
in that
Daddy
film
Daycare.
where he begins to lose his memory and he says dirty water really sad, and that part really bummed me out as he was drinking dirty water.
Oh, I think
Yep.
that's the perfect way to end this episode.
Yep.
Yeah, Ethan, go ahead and play the Go Folk Yourself Sesame Street theme.
Okay. Boom. There it should be right.
No, it's playing.
Okay.
Right
Perfect.
now. Happy Halloween, everybody.